the hypothesis of the show has been confirmed, which is if I put out stuff that I know that is not really out there that will help practice owners like you, some percentage of you will reach out and say, hey, welcome back to the show. Here we are, the Dave Kittle Show, the 200th episode. I didn't even do an episode for the first 100. Podcast editor Nate, shout out, he gave me a heads up. Hey, why don't you make a 200th episode, a quick reflection? And I said, I don't know if my peeps, my audience care about a reflection. I'll do a brief one, but really, how about something that'll help you, the audience? Physical therapists, practice owners, healthcare, business owners. We're going to talk briefly, quickly about the benefits of video content. I'm going to give you some quick wins. I'm going to give you some things that have benefited me, literally financial benefit and opportunities that have come my way in the past year or two because of putting video out like this and other video. So really quick, reflection-wise, I want to say thank you to Tony Maritato, probably the biggest supporter of me and my show and my podcast and especially my YouTube and the videos and growing the YouTube more and more. Tony's been one of the biggest supporters of mine for the past, 5 or so plus years, but specifically over the past year or two with me putting out this content, trying to help practice owners put out content around physical therapy, business, exit strategy, succession plans, valuations, EBITDA multiples, all that type of stuff. And then we mix in some marketing and some business stuff in between and all that. So thank you, Tony. Thank you, Jimmy McKay, also for your help and support. 200th episode, insane, crazy, but really what you care about is what can help you in your practice. What can help you? And again, beautiful thing. I have nothing to sell you, nothing here for you other than some tips and some ways for you to benefit through video content. I'm going to give you some examples. How the heck have I benefited specifically over the past year or two? And I have a lot of tips and examples of how you can use it in your business, in your practice. We're going to talk briefly about how video has helped me. But like I said, I don't know, like a lot of people, like everyone, we all care about it ourselves and what's going to be good for us and how it can help our business and our practices. So with video, we're going to talk briefly about how it can help you attract more prospective patients, more leads in your community, converting more patients. So more of those folks that get in your world through your funnel of online video. And then it also helped, and this is something that we're doing more and we're about to do more of at my practice, Concierge Pain Relief here in New York City with mobile concierge visits. And also that Dr. Josh Funk, who's been on the show recently, does a great job with Rehab to Perform down in like the DMV, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia area. And they put out a ton of video content. Dr. Josh Funk, if you're not following him, go check him out on Instagram. And they put out a ton of content. And this is why they're winning. There's a lot of reasons why they're winning, but they are winning because they're putting out video content for the patient-facing marketing side of things, like describing a condition, describing an exercise that helps with a certain condition or whatever. But then they also put out clinician-facing video all on the same platform. So they use video content, among other things, but they use video content to attract patients, new prospective patients and leads, which some convert into new patients, which is you should care about because you're a practice owner, you're watching or listening right now. And then also, if you're looking to grow and scale and hire more therapists, more staff, they also use video to engage other therapists. They do CU, Con Ed courses, things like that. They host Con Ed courses, all of that. So they also do therapist-facing video content that is for clinicians. And so that gets more clinicians into their world, interested in what they do, their philosophy. Like, for example, Josh and I talked about it, like they have turf, like AstroTurf in all their clinics, like a place for dynamic, like plyometrics and sprinting and cutting and movement, as opposed to just being like 100% treatment tables and no place for dynamic movement and dynamic therapeutic activities and sport rehab and return to sport and all those types of progressions. So, like I said, I want to say thank you to Tony Maritato and a quick reflection for what me putting this out and getting in front of more practice owners. It's helped me get in front of a lot more practice owners in general. The whole point of this whole, like the thesis of putting out this show was to make content for practice owners around business and valuations and exiting and selling and how much is a physical therapy practice worth and what do these companies actually buy them for and do they buy 100% or do they buy like 60 or 80% and then you keep some and then they buy you out later. A lot of this is just not on the internet. It's just not. And so I wanted to put this stuff out. I knew that if I put out great stuff or hopefully great stuff, and you are the judge and jury as to if this is great stuff or not. But I knew that if I put out some of this stuff and I interviewed brokers and advisors, and if I interviewed folks like that have already sold practices before, like when I interviewed Dean Volk, if you haven't checked it out, go back and check it out. Michael Gorman, who's been on the show, he sold 7 locations. Dean Volk sold, I think it was like 2 or 3 locations several years ago. And many other practice owners, many other folks that have been on the show. Andy Zapata, who has done a ton of PT and OT office transactions, buying and selling clinics. And he's based down in Miami, and now he's growing physical therapy now. So I knew that if I got practice owners on the show, asked them about, how much did this how much, how much did, with Dean Volk, like, how was the process when you were bought out by Cora Physical Therapy? And then with Mike Gorman, it was like, did you have any seller's remorse when you sold to Select Medical? And then how did you feel driving by your offices, now rebranded to Select Medical versus St. Louis Physical Therapy? And those types of conversations, those types of topics are not really that accessible online for whatever reason. So I knew that if I put out great content like this, that would help you, other business owners, other practice owners, learn about the valuation, the business side a little bit more of physical therapy practices, how you can get more patients, get more therapists, grow your team, improve your team, and then take some chips off the table if and when that becomes of interest to you. Obviously, typically later down the road as a therapist or a practice owner ages over time, and more so when you're 40 or 50, and then even more so if you're in your 60s or 70s or 80s. So that was my quick reflection. I don't want to go too deep into it because I don't know if you really care. But like I said, I've had folks reach out to me that spent, and I don't even advertise this, but here's an example of financial benefit by me putting out video like this. Here's an example. I'm not going to say who or the details around it, but I had a practice owner reach out a little while ago, and they saw a couple of my valuation, my spreadsheet valuation videos that I did in the past year or so. And this practice owner was having a partner conflict where one of the partners was not really engaged in the practice anymore, multi-site practice. I just happen to know this practice owner for at least 10, 15, something closer to 15 years before I ever did the show. So we knew each other a little bit more. But because I put out that video content, that practice owner emailed me, said, hey, I'm having this partner conflict. We need an independent business valuation. I told that practice owner, I'm not a certified business broker or a certified business valuation expert. And they're like, no, we know. But we watched this video that you did on a Google Sheet and you screen shared it and you put it on your show. So what you did there with that fake case study, that fake practice or that real practice, and you broke it down or whatever, because we have done that as well, where I broke down businesses for sale that are anonymous businesses and come up with a valuation. Anyway, that practice owner was like, we want you to do that for our practice so that we can buy out this partner, because the partner that wants to get out is saying the practice is worth, like, their equity is worth like a ridiculously high number. And we believe it's worth down here. And they wanted me to do this. And I gave them like 2 prices. And again, I don't even advertise this and I don't even really have time for this, but I was like, if you need like a couple days worth, it could be like, I could have that for you. We'll sign an NDA. I'll look at your financials. I don't have to go through all your books, but the small business valuation, if you needed in 2 or 3 days, it would be $2,700. Or if you needed like me to go through all your financials and provide like a multi-page, like several pages of a report, business valuation with me, with substantiating evidence as to like, here's how we evaluate, here's how we're evaluating practices, here's how we evaluate practices based on what we're seeing in the market right now, and trying to partner with practice owners and buy practices and all that. But that's going to take me like 14 days. So the practice owner said, we'll do the more expensive one, the 5,400, but can you have it done like this week or whatever? Long story short, like, so they paid the 5,400 and I got it done that week with a couple of different reports that they wanted, but the main thing was the business valuation. They also wanted another report that was refuting that partner that's trying to be bought out or leave. That partner obviously had some broker or a business valuation person create their own independent valuation, which was also just a little pie in the sky. It was just a little off in terms of what we've seen, or way off. But anyway, if I didn't put that video out, I would not have made that $5,400. Now, that's just one example, but the real thing is like putting this out, I'm planting little seeds. I'm planting little seeds, these digital seeds. All these videos are just digital seeds on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, wherever, and then post them, repost them on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, some Instagram videos, for Reels, and then the Reels or Shorts also on YouTube Shorts. Anyway, it's a way that I'm growing this awareness so that over time now on Facebook, for example, when someone says something about in one of these Facebook groups, like how much is a physical therapy practice worth, or I'm looking to buy one, who should I speak with, or like where do you go for valuing practices or whatever, and people will tag me, they'll tag my videos, they'll say speak with Dave or go watch the Dave Kittle show or whatever. And again, basically the hypothesis of the show has been confirmed, which is if I put out stuff that I know that is not really out there that will help practice owners like you, some percentage of you will reach out and say, oh, I already know, like, and trust you. And it also helps that I have Sturdy McKee on my team. And so folks know a lot more of Sturdy McKee than even me. And he's way more popular and he's been around longer and he's grown practices, multi-site locations, sold his practice, all that. He does, coaching and mentorship and all that now. And so practice owners will reach out and say, yeah, I want to potentially sell my practice because you're affiliated with Sturdy McKee. So that's awesome. That has nothing to do with this show. Great. But then also folks will reach out and they're like, hey, I feel like I already know you or whatever. And, I like what you had to say about this, that, or evaluations, or I like how you carry yourself or whatever. And so I've had practice owners joke with me saying like, when you buy my practice, or, eventually when you own my practice or whatever, then we can, then blah, 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 blah. And so it's kind of funny. It's like, I've had people that I've never met in person say to me like, yeah, we did this business change or whatever, and we did this, and it's going to help the future practice, and you will like this when you own the practice. Literally, they're in their mind, they're already saying, I own their practice in their future. I've never met them in person. And some of these owners, we've not even gotten to signing a non-disclosure agreement or looking at their financials or whatever. So who knows, right? But that is the power of video. So you can use video to put out content that is not out there. And I know that there's a lot of therapy practices that'll put content out about 3 exercises for low back pain, 3 exercises for herniated disc, stretch, the only one stretch that runners need to do, whatever. And all those things help. So if you go on Instagram, you go on YouTube, there's already a lot of videos. It's saturated. There's a lot of videos that already the consumers are looking at that are already known, and there's a lot of competition for them. So my question would be, how can you be different? So Jimmy McKay and I met up with him this past weekend. We talked about some of these ideas specifically for video. So if you want to get more new patients, you want to get busier, you want to get more popular in your community, one of the examples was you do interviews at all the local businesses around, all the coffee shops, yoga studios, Pilates, the HVAC companies, any of the service-based businesses, realtors, brokers, real estate brokers, anyone that owns a coffee shop, like whatever small business, gym owners, obviously, anyone that has their own community, their own customers, their own tribe, whatever. It could be literally like model my show if you wanted to. Like I've interviewed a ton of people on here. You just do an interview. You interview like, when did you start this restaurant? Like, why did you start this restaurant? Why did you name this restaurant, Spruce Coffee Shop or whatever, right? People love to talk about themselves. They open up, then they share their network with you. That's another thing that I was able to kind of confirm and prove with this show. It also helped that I had a previous podcast with Rob Vining in the physical therapy space, but you get the point. Stay tuned on the Dave Kittle Show and subscribe for future episodes because we do have some other cool things coming up in the future. I'm going to do a little bit more about predictions, artificial intelligence, the future of our profession, growth opportunities, in-network physical therapy versus out-of-network and cash-based physical therapy. And I would be remiss, again, if I didn't say thank you again, specifically to Tony Maritato, and then also a little more recently, Jimmy McKay, for all their help and their support. I'm having a blast doing Breakfast Club PT. Here's another example. On Jimmy McKay's podcast, so PT Podcast. By the way, it is now one of the largest, highest ranking on iTunes ranking, one of the highest ranking healthcare or medicine podcasts in the world. It's like top 50 or 100 in like medicine or healthcare, something like that, which is insane. And let's just say if I was like an advertiser, or if I wanted to pay Jimmy McKay to get on his podcast, to get in front of more therapists, to potentially for me to hire them for concierge pain relief, or to just get in front of his audience and be like, hey, I'm Dave Kittle. I have the show, and it's for physical therapists and practice owners and all that. And you should come, check out my show and subscribe or whatever. It would cost thousands of dollars. And because I've been putting out video content now consistently for like 2 years around all this, magically the people that also have audiences like Tony Maritato and Jimmy McKay help. They come, they see what I'm doing. And Tony is already doing Learn Medicare Billing. He was also doing a ton of videos on the total knee replacement side. So the patient facing videos that he gets a lot of help, notoriety from, and he gets patients reaching out from driving from different states to come see him because of the power of video. Tony Maritato sells a great course, Learn Medicare Billing. People are like fighting to get into this class every time there's a new live cohort. And it's because of the power of video. And then I got the help from Jimmy and Tony Maritato, who then share my stuff and post about it. And Tony posted about my show and wrote different blog articles on chooseptfirst.com, the website and the platform that he now owns and is growing. And I didn't have to ask for any of that. They did it because they wanted to. Jimmy McKay offered Tony and I, hey, we should try to do like a little talk show, like a breakfast club. Like I think he just created the name and like we just started riffing. And so now we've been doing that. And like I said, it would cost me thousands of dollars if I wanted to. Now I know, so Jimmy McKay, we were just talking this past weekend, and I brought this up and I said, if I was just some EMR company, or if I was some physical therapy, marketing company or whatever, and if I wanted to come on to do exactly what I'm doing, for me to be me and speak and whatever, it would be thousands of dollars to be that paid placement or whatever. And I get to have someone like Jimmy McKay and Tony Maritato, but Jimmy asking us to come on the show to do a 30 to 60 minute breakfast PT where we talk about different topics. We have fun. We love it. The audience, now there's dozens of people that tune in live, and it's at 8:30 a.m. on Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays. Now this week we're going to be doing twice a week. So now I'm going to be on Jimmy McKay's podcast 2 times per week without any paid placement. Because yes, Jimmy will say that, I guess the things that I say, well, sometimes he believes to bring value to his audience. And obviously whatever Tony says is certainly going to bring value to his audience or any audience. And so Jimmy offered to invite me on. And again, it would be a multi-$1,000 or whatever paid placement if I wanted to, if someone else wanted to come on. And that is the power of video, is that you get opportunities that you can never foresee. You can't see around the corners. You don't see what's on the horizon. You have to start doing videos, and it could be, again, the patient-facing videos or the clinician-facing videos to get more therapists. And for me, it's a little bit more, PT to PT with my style, with my videos and my podcast and all that. So 200th episode. Stick around for the next 1 or 200. Who knows? I do intend to do this forever. And I did name it specifically The Dave Kittle Show because I don't think you can really sell podcasts or whatever. It is me. It's wrapped around me. And so that's what I went with in terms of naming the show. But I really didn't want to go too much into the reflection. I really wanted to provide value around video content because that's what you care about, because you can use it to get more opportunities. But as the reminder, you have to make content, put content out there. And some of my YouTube videos get 10, 20, 30 views total. And then some get, 1,000 or whatever, and the more I do it, then the more they'll grow and all that. But you have to plant these digital seeds, these pieces of audio, these pieces of video content. Some of them grow, some of them don't. That's just the way it is. And some of them resonate with the audience and some of them don't. And but you never know who you can help, and you get people reaching out that it was valuable and helpful and all that. So obviously you have to have some self-awareness as to the topics, the thumbnails, the headlines, the video titles, all of that. You have to have some awareness as to like what's going to be provocative, intriguing, that's going to be clickable, not too much clickbait. But anyway, okay, I'm going a little long-winded. I wrote some notes here. Last thing. Whoever does more local video will win. This is the changing of the tide. It used to be with therapy and healthcare and all that was if you knew the most physicians and doctors and referral partners, you'd get the most physician referrals. Whichever practice took the physicians out to more dinners, cruises, resorts, bought them stuff, whatever kickbacks, legal, not legal, whatever. Historically, that's just what has happened in the 80s and 90s and into the 2000s. Whoever owned those referral relationships, those practices would usually win the most. And now with ACOs and healthcare, health systems keeping the referrals in the network, in the hospital network, the independent practices like us, the private practices that you have, that you own, that you're looking to grow and scale, whoever does more local video will win. And I'm going to be doing more of that in the coming months to years in terms of home visit, mobile therapy, concierge, video content, following my therapist into our patients with their consent, into their homes, their apartments, and showing you all what we do and how we do it differently and all that. And knowing that that will attract patients, prospective patients, and leads, prospective patients, and some patients that then convert. And also, it will also attract therapists that will see what we do, like what we do, and then apply to a practice like ours, as opposed to not knowing what we're about. And that's another thing, is that video will take you from obscurity, unknown, into at least being a little bit more known. So for me, it's like nationally with this, with getting in front of more practice owners. For you, with your practice, you can use video to go from the unknown, go from obscurity into being a little bit more known in your community. That's why I gave the example of interviewing local businesses, local providers, local physicians and surgeons, and all that, which Tony Maritato has talked about a ton. All right, that's it for now. The 200th episode, The Dave Kittle Show. A little bit of reflection, a shout out to Tony and Jimmy, and then also how the benefits of video and video content can help you and your practice grow. That's it for now. Catch you next time here on the show. The next 100 or 2 or the next 2,000. Let's go. Hey, it's Dave Kittle. Are you a healthcare business owner or physical therapy practice owner who is looking to figure out your succession plan or exit strategy? We might be able to help. And in fact, we may be interested in acquiring your practice. If you're interested, you can reach out to me. Shoot me an email at dave@conciergepainrelief.com. That's DAVE@CONCIERGE painrelief.com. Or you can call me at any time, 646-781-8884.